Hustles in to get to the puck, finds Engelland. Engelland moves it out on left wing to Pascal Dupuis. To Sidney Crosby. Soaring in. Crosby shot. He scores! How's that for a statement? Speed. Puck possession. McDonald had no chance, no match for 87 Sidney Crosby.
Siphoned it up top. Ovechkin working against Franz Nielsen. It's a 2-on-1 to Backstrom. Ovechkin to the backhand. He scores! A dazzling overtime winner for the Great Eight.
He is around Franz Nielsen, who he beat at the blue line, and there's that pretty goal right to the backhand top shelf. The fans still on their feet here in Washington.
Ovechkin owns the franchise record for career game winners in overtime. He adds to the list with this gem.
What's up, guys? Nolan here, and bringing another slideshow in for probably the biggest argument in sports in the past few years as who is better, Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin. And both respective captains of the respective teams, but one is better statistically, but one is better all around. And I'm pretty sure you guys know which one is which. And Ovechkin over the past few years has gone down a lot. And Crosby's coming back from his concussions and whatnot. He's had tremendous seasons, and he's carried his team through everything they've gone through. And of course, in the first picture here, I know all the talk is that Ovechkin, a lot of people love him, and they hate Crosby because he's apparently a whiner and everything, but I really don't see him being a whiner. He's very passionate about the game, and this is not a biased explanation on who is better. Strictly, I have all the facts written down, and I'll just tell you guys my opinion on who I think is better. So we'll start with the profiles of the players. And Crosby, he's the captain of Pittsburgh, always played for Team Canada, as you all know, the Golden Goal. And he was born in 1987 in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. He's a good Canadian kid. And presently, right now in 2013, he's 25 years old, 5'11", 200 pounds, which is a really great profile for a first-line centerman, which he beats out Malkin for. That's a different story. But yeah, so Crosby, one of the best centers you would want in the game, the best center. He played in the QMJHL for Rimouski, and he won the back-to-back CHL Player of the Year awards. And that's a very big feat out of the whole CHL with the WHL, OHL, and the QMJHL. Three very competitive leagues with a lot of great players, and even back then he was a dominant player. He was the youngest player to ever to play on the under 18 team in 2003 for Canada at the age of 16, and there's only 3 other players to do that. I believe it was Gretzky and Lindros, and I'm not sure who the last person was, but it's a very big feat for Crosby to do that. As you know, growing up in Canada, that's all you hear about is Crosby, Crosby, Crosby. He was the kid. He was the next great one, or he still is supposedly the next great one. Always came up through Timbits hockey, and he's Canada's kid. He was drafted first overall in the 2005 NHL entry draft. And in this draft, what was big with this one is that anybody could have gotten the first round pick, because the year before that, in 2004-2005 season, it was the lockout year. And that gave the name to this draft as the Crosby Sweepstakes, and who's going to get Crosby. Everything was all about Sidney Crosby. I don't remember who went second, but the whole talk was about Crosby. And how they figured out who got the first overall pick, they took the team's past playoff performances, or appearances, sorry, and they put them into a pool, and they just drew the names, and the teams that had not had a lot of playoff appearances before had a greater chance of winning. And of course, Pittsburgh back then was not one of the greatest teams, so they had the greatest chance of getting Crosby, and they did. And he was named captain in the 2007-2008 season, And in that same season, he took the Penguins to the Stanley Cup Finals, but which is where they lost to Detroit in a great series that was. Before the 2007 season, before he became captain, he had some of the best years of his career. In his first year, he had 102 points, I remember, but he came in second to none other than Ovechkin for the Calder Cup, and that was a great season for an 18-year-old coming in. And so far, totaling, this is up to March 23rd, 2013, he has a total of 466 games played, 236 goals, 425 assists for 661 points, a plus-minus rating of plus 103, and a 519 face-off percentage, which is tremendous for a first-line center. And you look at all the time he's missed. He's missed, what, 1 or 2 seasons? At least 1.5 seasons, and he's still putting up 661 points. That is a feat in itself, and it shows why he's in tremendous shape and just what he's able to do on the ice, the way he sees the ice and visualizes. And his on his resume, he has the Stanley Cup, which beats out Ovechkin right there for a better player. Well, not necessarily a better player, but he's more accomplished. He has 2 Stanley Cup final appearances. He's won a Maurice Richard Trophy, a Hart Memorial Trophy, the Art Ross Trophy, the Ted Lindsay Award, and he's a 4-time All-Star, but 3 times he missed the All-Star game due to the injury. So I believe he would have been a 7-time All-Star. And he's won Olympic gold, as everybody knows that, and he's won a World Junior gold and silver. So just by his hardware, he's won very many awards. And he's just a bona fide player right now. And he has 10 NHL records. He currently holds them. And the most notable out of all those ones that I believe is the best is he was the youngest player to record 200 points. And he did that at the age of 19. And because in his first year, at 18, he had 102 points. That is unbelievable for a rookie. And then in the second season, he had like another 100-point season. I can't remember what the mass was, but it was above 100 points. So these are just the highlights for Sidney Crosby so far. His profile. He's Canada's kid, and he's probably one of he's, if not the best player, he's the best centerman in the NHL for sure. And let's move on to Ovechkin. Grew up in Russia, and he's Russia's pride and joy right now. And he's been the face of the Washington Capitals since he was drafted back in 2004. And Washington's put all their faith into Ovechkin and hoping that one day they're going to bring home the cup. But after his first few seasons, he's just dropped it. So here's Ovechkin's profile. He was born in 1985 in Moscow. He's age 27 now, so he's 2 years older than Crosby, sorry. He's 6'3" at 230 pounds, and that is a great build for a left winger, a power forward sniper, a typical like Eric Lindros kind of player, but he is Russian, the hard-nosed Russian. He's always going to battle, which is what everybody thought he was going to be for the rest of his career. He was drafted first overall in 2004 entry draft, so he was drafted before Crosby, but since the 2004-05 season was canceled due to another lockout, he was going to go back to Russia and play in the KHL, I believe. But he decided to sign his entry-level contract with the Capitals for $925,000 or something, and he could have made up to $3.9 million in bonuses if he could have a great season. So that is why him and Crosby started at the same time in the 2005-2006 season. And he was named captain in 2010. He was named captain, I believe, midway through the season. I'm not sure who he took over. I can't remember what the captain or who the captain was in Washington back then. That was a while ago. It was 3 years ago. But yeah, he took over the captaincy, and he was very excited to have this. He had the A before, and he seemed to be like one of the best captains that you're going to have on any team in the league. And so far, up to March 23rd, 2013, he has a total of 584 games played, 354 goals, 354 assists for a total of 708 points, and a plus-minus rating of plus 75. And that is amazing stats. For only having 584 games played, he has 708 points. That is That's an unbelievable feat. That's well over a point a game. Not necessarily 2 points a game, but it's at least like 1.5. But you guys do the math. I'm not sure. But he's just a bona fide scorer, and you'd think that he'd have more goals and assists, but he's also a great passer. But if you've seen the curve on his stick, he's made for scoring goals. That shot he has is truly amazing. He's a 6-time All-Star. He's won 2 Hart Memorial trophies, 3 Ted Lindsay trophies, an Art Ross trophy, 2 Maurice Richard trophies, the Calder Cup, which he beat out Crosby for, and he's won World Junior Gold back in 2003 in Canada, I believe it was. So you see right here by the hardware that Ovechkin has won, he is statistically a better player than Crosby, you could say. Those trophies, that masses up to, I don't know, you guys can't how many there are. That's 2, 5, 6, 8, 9 trophies so far, and then plus the junior gold, which you can argue Crosby should have won a lot of those trophies. Like, he shouldn't have won them, but he was right up, blowing down the neck of Ovechkin, waiting for Ovechkin to fall down and Crosby to step up to get these awards. But Ovechkin kept going, and he's had, I believe, 3 or 4 100-point seasons, and that's a feat in itself. He has 9 NHL records that he holds right now, and the most notable out of those records is that he was the first player to win the Art Ross, Maurice Richard, Ted Lindsay, and the Hart trophies. But as well, he won all those in a single season. I believe that was back in 06, 07, or 07, 08. And to win all those 4 trophies, no other player has done that before. But to win them all in the same season, that would made it even better. So that's why Ovechkin, he's made to play hockey. Like, he's a bona fide goal scorer, a bona fide MVP. Anybody will want him on the team. And he has 11 Washington Capitol records, and the most notable of that one was most seasons with 50-plus goals at 4. And to have 4, I believe those were all back-to-back seasons with 4 goals, because you guys seen in the past few years, he hasn't done very much. But in his first season, I think he had over 50 goals in his first season. His second season, he had another 55. Second season, he had 60, I know, and his fourth one was 65 or something like that. Something way up there, and that is unbelievable. That's something you probably will never see again. And the funny thing is, we could not be having this argument because back when Ovechkin was drafted in 2004, the second overall pick was to Pittsburgh, and they drafted Malkin. So basically what I'm saying is that Washington right now could have Malkin on their team, and Ovechkin would be on Pittsburgh. Most likely. So Crosby and Ovechkin would be playing together. And could you imagine that Crosby on the center and Ovechkin on the left wing? Just those two together would be unbelievable. But Washington, I believe, made a great choice in picking Ovechkin, because back when he came out of Russia, he was one of the top. He was the best scorer you can find in the NHL, or in the world probably. So I think they made a great choice in getting him. But the downfall was the contract, and I'll get to that later on. So head-to-head, here's the stats from the time they both entered the NHL to 2011-2012. And you guys can see here that Crosby had 102 points in his first season, which is a great rookie season, but Ovechkin beat that with 106, and he won the Calder Cup. And right there, you guys, nobody knew who the better player was, but statistically, Ovechkin was. And then in the next season, Crosby trumped Ovechkin with everything, winning the Hart and the Art Ross in that same year with 120 points. That's a superstar point total. And then in 2007-2008, Ovechkin trumped Crosby in the point totals. That's when he won his 4 trophies, I believe. Art Ross, Rocket. No, it wasn't. But anyway, Ovechkin still trumped Crosby with over 40 more points than Crosby got. And then in the 2008-2009 season, that's the season where you had Ovechkin and Crosby both doing great. Ovechkin wins the most points with 110, but you had Crosby at 103, and he won the Stanley Cup. And in that season, that was the season when Ovechkin and Crosby faced off in the quarterfinals. It was, or yeah, it must have been the quarterfinals or whatever. And then I remember in probably I think it was game 6 or game 5, they both had a hat trick in the game. So Crosby had 3 goals, Ovechkin had 3 goals, and that was a sight to see. The two of the best players in the world going head to head against each other, and they both get hat tricks. That is something you will never see again. So, but in that season, Crosby came out on top, I believe, even though he did not win the Hart Trophy, or the Art Ross Trophy, sorry. He still won the Stanley Cup, which beats every trophy that you could win. And then in 2009, 2010, they both tied with points. And Crosby was a co-winner of the Rocket Richard, I believe, with Stamkos or Perry. I think it was Stamkos. And then after this season is when everything started just to fall off, and nobody could choose who the better player was. Because when you have the 2010-2011 season, that was the year Crosby got injured. And he missed 41 of those games, but he still managed, in the first 43 games, he still managed to, or 41 games, sorry, he still managed to get 66 points, which is unbelievable. And you have Ovechkin, who only got 85. If Crosby was healthy for those rest of the season, on top of making the playoffs and probably making a cup run, he would have had probably another 40 points, 50 points, and that would have just trumped Ovechkin. So Ovechkin kind of tailed off, because you can tell that they both love facing each other, right? Ovechkin always wanted to be better than Crosby, and Crosby wanted to be better than Ovechkin. But when Crosby was gone, Ovechkin had nobody to compete with. And then it came forward in the next season, 11-12, which is when Crosby again missed 60 more games, but still managed to get 37 points in the last 28 2 games of the season. And that is simply amazing. And you only have Ovechkin with 65. Crosby only almost tied Ovechkin in points, playing 60 games less than Ovechkin did. And that's when you see that Crosby, I believe, is better than Ovechkin. And here's head-to-head this is in the regular season up to 2010. This is not including the playoffs. Crosby won 12 games out of the 9 games, or out of the 21 games that Ovechkin and him face off, Washington and Pittsburgh. So I'm not saying that they won the games for their teams, but Crosby led his team better than Ovechkin did, you could say. Goals, Ovechkin, of course, beats Crosby, only by 2. But assists is where Crosby takes the cake. Crosby, he's not a single player. He plays both ways of the ice, whereas Ovechkin only plays one side of the ice, I believe. He's only an offensive player. But I understand that when in the 2011-2012 season, Bruce Boudreau wanted him to be more of a defensive player. And of course that would come off in his point totals, but I think Ovechkin started to use that as an excuse of why he's not doing great anymore. And then, of course, points finally, Crosby ended up with 35, and Ovechkin ended up with 28 in those games against each other. So head-to-head, they're both basically tied, but against each other, Crosby always came out on top. 3 out of the 4 stats here, he's won. And then when you look at the stats head-to-head, like this chart just says it all. You can see the difference in between and when Ovechkin starts to fall off. And so finally, who's better? Statistically, this is only statistically, not who's better, but statistically, Ovechkin is the better player. And why? He has more, just right off the bat, he has more points, more goals than Crosby does. Not more assists, but more goals. He's a pure sniper, and I'll give him that. I respect Ovechkin. I don't like him, though, because he got his money, but he stopped. He has more trophies won. This is why he's also statistically better. He's won 9 trophies. In one season, he won 4 trophies, which nobody's ever done before. And that is the feat in itself. And just on his own, Ovechkin can carry the team. He has more gold medals than Crosby. I know Crosby has the Olympic gold and the World Junior gold, but Ovechkin, I didn't have them in the in his profiles. But back when he played in Russia, he was always on the teams there that play for the gold. I'm not sure what they did, but he won numerous gold medals there. And then, of course, he won the World Juniors back in 2003 when they were in Canada. Ovechkin has more records set in the NHL and with Washington. Sorry, not in the NHL. Crosby has more, but for his own franchise, Ovechkin has more. In the one thing about Ovechkin that I believe is different than Crosby is Ovechkin can change the game on a dime. So can Crosby, but Ovechkin has that ability. He's a natural goal scorer. That shot is wicked, and he can in a snap of the fingers, he can go from the defensive zone all the way to the offensive zone and beat whoever goal you have in the net. Carey Price, Marc-Andre Fleury, whatever goal you have in the net, he's going to beat them if he wants to. When Ovechkin puts his mind to it and he plays hard, he's going to beat whoever's in front of him, and he can easily change any game on a dime. But who is the best player all around? I don't know. This is just my opinion, but I stick by this opinion, and it has to be Sidney Crosby. Why? He's a great leader. Ovechkin got the captaincy in 2010, but I really don't think he led the team. He started to tail off, like, oh yeah, I'm the captain, you guys can't touch me anymore. I'm just better than all of you. He didn't really lead the team. Crosby, on the other hand, when he got the captaincy, you could tell he was ready to lead the team. Back in high school, Crosby was leader with the special ed kids. He was always helping them, and it always carried through in his hockey career. And he became the leader, the face of Pittsburgh. He wanted to win. Every game, he always fought. He was the most passionate on the ice, which is why people may say he may whine to the referees a lot. But so do fans. Fans whine to the referees. You don't think Crosby's going to whine to the referees when a stupid penalty happens? Even if it's a penalty that he should have had or a teammate should have had, he's passionate. He's going to fight for what his team. It's passion that fuels that anger. You see, even Marty Brodeur, when he gets angry at a call or whatever, he gets beaten in a shootout, he'll smash his stick on the wall. Why? Not because he's a whiner, but because he's passionate about the game and he wants to win. Crosby's the same thing. Some people may see him as whining to the referees, but I see it as he's a very passionate player, and he will do anything to help his team win. And again, the Stanley Cup, that in itself is tremendous. He does have 2 Stanley Cup appearances. What's Ovechkin have? He has no Stanley Cup appearances. They have not made it by the second round, I don't think, since they got Ovechkin. He has not been the force that everybody thought he'd be. Sure, he's done great, but he's done great alone. Statistically alone, he's done great. Crosby, statistically, has done great, and with his team has done great. He's led the team to the Stanley Cup and the 2 Stanley Cup appearances. He was the leader of those teams. And the Stanley Cup in itself, I believe, makes Crosby better. But also is the power that Crosby possesses. Probably one of the most influential players in the NHL. But not even that power. The power in his legs that he has. If you guys have seen his legs are like tree trunks. His play down low behind the net in Gretzky's office, better than anybody I've ever seen before. I never saw Gretzky play, but it's probably exactly the same as Crosby. Crosby, if you have him below the goal line, you're not getting by him. You're not getting the puck off of him. He's always got the puck, and he's not going to let you get that puck. Remember that game in the playoffs in the Stanley Cup run in 2007, 2008, when he was behind the goal line against Jason Spezza, another great player. Crosby outmuscled him and got the puck to Gonchar and got the goal, or Letang and got the goal. That is the difference between Ovechkin and Crosby. A lot is the passion they play with, and how Crosby, he fights for every play on the ice. He knows what's going to happen. He's a great passer. He sees the ice differently than anybody else. Ovechkin, on the other hand, he's a pure sniper. I understand that, but he just stands there and waits for the puck to get to him. Sometimes Ovechkin has to highlight reel goals, but the highlight reel goals he has are single-handed. I've never seen Ovechkin get a highlight reel goal because of a pass or anything. It's because he is single-handedly talented to deke around every player on the ice, which is amazing itself, but that is not why he is better than Crosby. Crosby's better because he can pass the puck, he sees the ice, he uses his teammates, and he makes everybody on the ice better. Look what he's done to Chris Kunitz and Pascal Dupuis. He's made them amazing. And it's the little things that Crosby does on the ice. Ovechkin, sure, he gets the highlight reel goals and everything. But if you know hockey and you know what plays are good and what plays are bad, you watch a game of Crosby, He does the little things that a hockey a non-hockey person would not notice. But a person who knows hockey and knows the hockey logic, they see those little plays. And if you just go watch, type in on YouTube right now, little plays that Crosby does, and you'll probably get 10-minute videos of analysis of the little things that Crosby does, whether it's the back check he does, the play behind the nets he does, or even just skating up and down the ice and taking the open man. It's amazing what he's able to do. His hockey IQ is way higher than Ovechkin's. Ovechkin is only offensively minded. That's the biggest thing that makes him different, is the little things that Crosby does. And again, as I say, he's a team player, makes everybody around him better. And for the time Crosby has missed, he's missed, when you add the games together, it was 60 and 40. So that's a season and a bit. So right there, and don't forget, go back to that chart, just rewind the video, you'll see that in those seasons that Crosby missed, he almost caught Ovechkin for the points. So Crosby makes the most of his time on the ice. And if Crosby hadn't been injured, he would be way over Ovechkin's point totals. Crosby is able to make the most out of his opportunities. Right now, he's leading the league with, 52 points already? Ovechkin's down there with 29. That's an average player. Crosby's the superstar of the league right now. And another thing, the biggest thing, consistency. Crosby shows up every night he plays. You know what you're getting when Crosby's on the ice. You know you're getting a hard shift, hard up the ice, back the ice, and off the ice. You know you're getting that with Crosby. He will put his passion into the game and do anything he can to get a goal or just to help his team out of the defensive zone. You can put Crosby on the penalty kill, power play. He's the most versatile player. But you have Ovechkin on the other hand. You don't know what you're getting with Ovechkin. Sure, back when he was a rookie in his first 3 years, you knew you were going to get goals out of him. But now you can't trust him. He's lollygagging up and down the ice, not fighting hard or anything. And that's what a big difference is as well. Ovechkin is not consistent. Crosby is one of the most consistent players in the NHL. And you can argue whatever you want, but go by the stats and just watch Crosby play. You will see how much better Crosby is than Ovechkin. I've seen both of them play, and just watching Crosby live, the power he plays with is amazing. You have no idea. So people who don't watch hockey and say that Crosby is a suck and whatever, you have entitled to your opinion, but go watch hockey and you'll see. Look at the stats. Crosby is a much better player than Ovechkin is. Ovechkin, I'm not saying Ovechkin's a bad player, but he isn't the best player. Not nearly the best player. As well, Crosby's work ethic is amazing. In this graph, where's Ovechkin? So you'll see here. Look when Ovechkin started. He started back with the 82 games. He had 50 goals, and the chart goes. The vertical axis is the goals. And look, he started off with no goals, and he gets to mid-season. He gets 65 goals this season. But then past few years he's tallied off, and why that is, it's simple. What people are asking, why is he doing this? But it's really easy. Off of his rookie contract, he signed a $9.5 million contract for 7 or 10 years? I don't know. Something insane. And that was Washington's first mistake. So now you have Ovechkin, who's making $9.5 million. For what? For now he's getting 29 points right now? A 65-point season? That's it. Like, what's that going to happen? And then, so what happened is that Ovechkin played the first 3 years for the money. And that's all he did. He played those years to get the $9.5 million. Now he can coast for whatever the hell he wants. He's making the money. He got engaged. He's marrying a tennis player, making $9.5 million a year. And he doesn't have to do anything. He can coast for the rest of his career and still get paid. And he has no motivation to do anything anymore. He's made his money. He's not motivated to win the cup. I think what's best for Ovechkin is I think what's best for Ovechkin right now is that he needs a change of scenery. He needs to be traded away from Washington, because what's Washington gonna do right now? They have Ovechkin signed for $9.5 million, which is an outrageous contract for, I think it's probably 6 or 7 more years. And if he's just gonna get you 60-point seasons now, what's that? You're not gonna pay a person $9.5 million for 65 points. You can get that out of a second liner for like $3 or $4 million. But see, if you don't trade Ovechkin now, nobody's gonna want him in a couple years when he's getting like 50-point seasons. Nobody's gonna want him. So Washington needs to make the decision now. If Ovechkin's not gonna play, they need to get rid of him right now, because you can get right now you can get a good prospects for him in first-round picks. But wait a couple more years, when another 2 60-point seasons, you're not gonna get anything for Ovechkin. Nobody's gonna want him. So Ovechkin's best option right now is to be traded away. So in final, Sidney Crosby is the best player in the world, best hockey player in the world. And you can argue that he's not. But until you actually watch hockey and you know what you're talking about, you will know that Crosby is the best player. Sure, he may be a bit overrated or whatever, but when you're saying overrated, Ovechkin is overrated. You're getting $9.5 million for 60-point seasons. That is awful. You give Crosby, he's making $8 million. He's getting you 70, 80, 90, 100-point seasons every single season. You know what you're getting with Crosby. You don't know what you're getting with Ovechkin. And that is why Sidney Crosby is the best player in the world. He's won the Stanley Cup. He's motivated every night. He's fighting for his team. He's passionate about hockey. And most of all, he's a leader. His work ethic, he leads on and off the ice. And you can't argue that Crosby is worse than Ovechkin. Sure, as a person, people may not like Crosby. But on ice, in strictly hockey terms, Sidney Crosby is the best hockey player in the world. So thank you guys for watching. Like or dislike and state your comments and opinions below. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.